Hey guys, how's it going? Today we have a lot to talk about. We're going to be talking about, sorry, I got like a nice like furry rug down here, but it's shedding like crazy and I'm wearing black leggings. Probably not the best thing to do, but I really wanted to sit down for this because I have a lot to talk about, and it's about the internship process and applying and the interviewing process, all of that. It had me stressing, starting even from the application process. And I'm going to spill some tea. Of course, I'm not going to mention any specific counties or school systems. Thankfully, I got an internship. I'm really happy with my placement, and so I'm grateful. But I do have some information for you guys. So I am in like the DC metropolitan area, like Northern Virginia, and there's a lot of really good school systems here. That being said, I do think school psychology is a newer field, or there's less of us than, you know, compared to teachers. There's like one school psychologist and then like thousands of students. And so that being said, I don't think the system is really, it's like not unified. There's no like real template for the process. And so each county and school district, they kind of do things differently. It might be different in California or New York, wherever you are. I'm sure they do this differently. I'm sharing my experience and how things went down. So starting with the application process, even looking for places to apply was difficult. We either had to wait for our professors to send us an email with the application information, or we had to search on like job sites like Indeed, or we had to reach out to the county ourselves and then ask them if they had an internship available. And some school districts, they did have it on their website. Sometimes it was kind of tedious to look for, but sometimes it's there. But even that whole process, I just felt like it shouldn't have been that hard looking for internships because it's part of our learning process and it's something that's required for us. So I got my applications in. I applied to 5 different school districts, and even the application process, I made a video on this, but it was a lot of work. It was like I was applying for college again, and that was a very stressful time in my life. And so thankfully not all places have essays. Some places did require an essay, and so I got all my applications in, and then you wait. But then I was in a special case because I was traveling and I had to request for a different date or like accommodations, like doing it over Skype or over the phone. And so thankfully a lot of the counties were nice enough to give me an earlier date, or they allowed me to interview via Skype. And so I'm also really grateful for that. But you apply and then you wait, and that waiting period really sucks because you're just sitting there anxiously doing your schoolwork, hoping that people respond to you. And so you'll get your interview. Hopefully they'll call you or email you, set a date. And I think the other part of this process that made it really stressful was that you're with your cohort, and there's 13 of us, and I think like a majority of us applied. Some of us are, you know, going to more school, or they're moving away, or whatever. They have their own personal reasons, but it wasn't all of us. But still, there's like a good number of us that are all applying, and if you, let's say 1 or 2 people get an interview somewhere and the other people don't, it gets kind of awkward. And then there is an interview. So the interview, I do want to go over some of the questions they ask, and hopefully it's helpful for some of you who have interviews coming up, or for the next school year, or if you're just interested in becoming a school psychologist. This is part of the process. So I wrote some of these questions down. A lot of the counties asked similar questions, and then some counties were like kind of out there. But a really popular question was, why are you interested in interning at our county? Which means you have to go ahead and research before you come in for this interview. Know why you want to go, or at least have a reason, so you don't just sit there and stare at them, or, you know, you sit there and you BS. You want to sound like you did some research. Flatter them. And also be authentic. They know when you're spewing out a lot of lies. Another popular question was, why do you want to become a school psychologist, or what drew you to this field? Describe your experience with positive behavior interventions, or MTSS, or RTI, and Where do you see the school psychologist fitting in with this? They'll also ask like how many evaluations you've done, or which assessments you've administered in the past. That one was tricky for me because I don't know how many I did or which assessments I administered. I've done a lot, and so to ask me on the spot and for me to list everything out, I was like, oh wow, that's a big question. So I've done this, 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 and this, and this. I hope I got them all. Let's see. One county asked me to tell them about my experience working with children and what kind of population I've worked with in the past. So like what types of children, I guess, and like types of disabilities. And then, I really didn't expect the counties to ask me this, but I think almost everyone asked for our counseling experience. And some counties asked for even consultation and what kind of experience we have in those roles. And that I found that interesting because we're not counselors, and although we do counseling as school psychologists, we've only been trained in like one class so far. And so I talked about the class I've taken, and then I talked about like the minor roles that I've had during practicum experience and also at my job. And so I did lead like a group counseling session, so that was good to talk about. Make sure you have a lot of stories. They like stories, and you're also more likely to like talk better and more confidently when you have your own stories and it comes from your own experiences. It's just easier to talk about. All right, they also asked about your most difficult experience or situation and how you overcame that. You know, something along that line, whether it's like just a broad like challenging situation or dealing with a child or dealing with other staff members or coworkers. They want to see that you have good problem solving skills and that you can work as a team. A lot of counties ask what you expect from this internship or what you want to take away from the internship. And so have your reasons, your own personal strengths and weaknesses. And then they asked about how to identify specific learning disabilities. So a lot of times like reading, and then how to identify autism, how to identify ID. So make sure you have some of those criteria and then those assessments in your pocket. I know it's a lot to prepare for, but you need an internship at the end of the day, so go prepared. So I guess I was not happy with all of my interviews because some of them were just so different from other ones, and I just felt like I wasn't prepared enough for the interviews, and I wish I had known like the different types of questions they could ask, because you can only go in prepared knowing what you know. And so if you don't know about it, how are you supposed to know? That sounds really stupid, but you know what I mean. All right, so after the interview, and they will always ask, do you have any questions? Go in with some questions. Ask about the timeline. Ask about their internship program, how they do certain things. I always ask about the county's strengths and weaknesses because you're there to interview them too. If you get multiple offers, you have to know how to, choose or prioritize or rank the county, so you need information about them too. All right, after interviews is the waiting process. This part really sucks, especially if you have other people in your cohort, because you're waiting and waiting, and then so I guess the counties also have their own objectives, right? They need to fill these spots, and it might be limited, but they want the best people for their counties, and the ones around me are really competitive. They pay anywhere from $15,000 to $25,000 for the year for like 9 months. And then, different counties have different ways of running their program. And so I think a lot of counties only had 1 or 2 positions. Some counties had 3 or 4, but it was still really limited. And so they do this thing where they call their first choice. They give them a few days to respond. And then if other people are like, oh, like when do we hear back? Like, I thought it was gonna be this time. They will tell the other person, oh, like we'll get back to you. Like we're still looking at applicants or like interviewing. We'll get back to you by a certain time. But usually that certain time is after they've already reached out to their first, like their top choices. And so I think like in the grand scheme of things, like as like a school district or like as a business or whatever you look at it as, it makes sense because you want the top quality people. But then like our perspective, especially with our peers around us, we know who the top choices are and like who was secondary or like who was third in line. And so that made things really awkward. And because school districts were on different timelines, it was hard for us to kind of line everything up and then make the best decision. It was like, oh, one school district will respond to you or give you an offer, and then they'll give you like a couple days for like a week to respond, and then the other school district might be giving you an offer like 2 weeks later. But how do you know that? Like, how are you supposed to make the best decision? They're like trapping you and making you decide by filling you with anxiety. I guess like I just had some like preconceived notions about this whole process, and I thought it would be a lot more streamlined and it would be easy, but it just wasn't like that. Like, not all of us got interviews, not all of us got offers, and it's just been like, it's been really stressful. And I just wish I had more like support and resources in this process to feel more confident in like how I was doing. So that's the tea. Sometimes I just felt like, I don't know, it was just really stressful. I guess it's not the school district's fault. It's not the county's fault, but maybe like our school programs can help us more. I know like if some of us like don't have internships, then professors will help you find one, whether it's paid or unpaid, they will help you. But ultimately it is your own, it's like it's your own future and your own career, and it's your own job, and it is cutthroat out there. People don't care about you. You have to take care of yourself and care for yourself. And yeah, just make sure you're on top of everything. Ask people questions. Be on top of it. Email people. I mean, after every interview I try to email them and say thank you. I try to like look them up, look up their names. And I think like I was also a little bit like butthurt or upset because I really had my heart set on one county and I thought I did really well, blew them away, but they never called me back. And maybe they had connections with some of the people that applied or interviewed and I didn't even have a chance. Who knows? There's a lot of I think there's a lot of politics in this process, and that just goes for like anything in the school world or anything like related to government and like parents and children, just like. So I hope that was a little bit enlightening, but in the end I got an internship and I'm so happy with where I'm going, so yay! Thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more content, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye! Also, I have a friend or a colleague of mine that thought it would be really cool to start like a podcast, not a channel, but like a podcast playlist where we talk about different topics as graduate students, like school psychology graduate students. If you guys are interested in that, let me know down in the comments. And also if you're going to NASP, let me know. I would love to hang out with some of you guys. That would be so cool. So let me know down in the comments below. And also if you're currently in the internship process right now or applying for internships, let me know how it's going. Are you as stressed out as me, or is it just me? Am I crazy? Please tell me that I'm not crazy. Okay, bye.